right. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, DuckTV Esports listeners. This is going to be another one of our podcast segments here. I'm joined here today with Dylan and Matt. We'll introduce themselves in just a second. I am your host today, Andrew Eaton, aka Sleepy Sandman. Dylan, you can take it away.
Yeah, I'm Dylan Barton. I go by Thick Rick in game. Big fan of Yorick and Macro and all things such. And I'm excited to talk about the LCS and Oregon League of Legends.
Yeah, and I am Matt Rados, Wide Whippo happy in game. Both a fan of Whippo and Wide Whippo alike.
We like it. We like it. All right. So for today's podcast, we're going to be discussing the current state of the LCS spring split, as well as the recent OSU versus UO matchup in the RSAA tournament for collegiate League of Legends from Riot. And then after that, we're going to be breaking into like a bit of our own rank solo griefing and grievances. Yeah, but I haven't been able to focus too much on the LCS this season because of homework and stuff. So I'm going to let Dylan and Matt kind of lead the way on this. So just to start, what teams are really looking strong aside from just like the straight up leaderboards,
Well, I think the leaderboards is always a good indication of who's strong, but I think there's three teams that actually look like they might be able to win. And I don't mean to leave Dignitas out of the conversation, but we just haven't seen enough of their team yet. There are a lot of new faces, and while they sit at 6-3 and they're playing phenomenally, it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell if the other teams won't be able to catch up or if this is sort of an aberration. But I really think Cloud9 looks as strong as ever, and then 100 Thieves and TSM have very high highs and then low lows. But I'm just shocked that Dignitas is sitting at 6-3. Every preseason power ranking, if you looked at it, Dignitas was bottom 3, even bottom 2. They have a lot of faces that have previously been considered not good enough for LCS. Asta, aka Neo.
Old guard players, it looks like.
Yeah, Soligo has never been known as a top tier mid laner, but yet here's Dig 6-3 beating teams. They beat Team Liquid.
Yeah.
What was that game?
That game, it was something else, I think. I don't think anyone actually expected that to be a win for Dignitas.
Yeah, they also knocked off TSM on that 6-game win streak.
Yeah, that game was crazy. I think, personally, Cloud9 looks the strongest. But TSM and 100 Thieves are still in the conversation for like maybe number 2. But the issue is it's like, okay, TSM started 0-2. They won 5 games in a row, right? But then they lose to Dignitas, and just the day before, the casters were like, oh, Dignitas isn't actually really showing up. They've been playing weaker teams, right? And so now TSM shows that they're strong, and then Dignitas beats them, and then it kind of halts that conversation. And then 100 Thieves looks strong, and then they lose to Golden Guardians as well. In fact, Closer on Twitter, before the game started, he tweeted saying, so happy to be ending the split 7-2. Lots of work to go forward.
Oh no. Yeah.
I think it's kind of interesting actually now because I had to pull up the standings, and like realistically, it's honestly really close from TL upward. When you think about it, because it's a 2-win gap. So like Cloud9 has one bad weekend, despite how strong they may look, and like the leaderboard can easily flip, but it does look like from Immortals downward, it's gonna be kind of stuck. I mean, CLG and Golden Guardians are kind of out of the races. I think we can safely say at this point. But how much longer do we have left in the season?
This was the first half. I think it was the end of the first round robin this last weekend. So it's definitely, there's a lot to continue going onwards with. I think Golden Guardians being towards the bottom is totally justifiable because they are pretty much a development team at this point. They looked for local talents. They didn't spend much money on the roster. I think seeing them down there and even being able to pick off games every now and then, like we saw them beating 100 Thieves, is really something where we kind of are seeing a lot of improvement. Niles is just kind of getting giga camped every single game, though, which is really rough.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of GG's games because I've been interested in seeing their college players, and I really feel bad for Niles because his first couple of weeks he was winning a lot of lanes, and now the other teams have realized he doesn't have quite the game sense that some of the experienced pros do. So if you just keep a jungler on that side of the map, he really feels the pressure and makes some mistakes. So I feel like if you were to draw a line between the teams, the cutoff would be below TL. I think Immortals, FlyQuest, GG, and CLG are certainly a lot lower in terms of talent than everybody else. But beyond that, I'm surprised to see even Evil Geniuses sitting above Team Liquid. I feel like if you import allegedly the best top laner in the West, your expectation should be a lot higher than 5 and 4. I mean, you can look at 100 Thieves. They're sitting at 6 and 3 with winning most of their games through top diff because of Someday. So I, I really think Team Liquid's been pretty disappointing.
What do you
Yeah,
I'm
think
not
is
sure
like the
exactly where it
crux
comes
of that
from,
Team
but
Liquid? Like, is it like, I mean, I don't know, looking at the names on their list, because I know there's a whole bunch of roster changes around the league too, but I mean, Jensen has always been underwhelming for me. Tactical and Corday Day are fine. So like my question is it Alfari or Santorin? Or is Jensen just honestly really being exposed this year yet again? I personally have never been a fan of Jensen, but that's just me.
yeah, what I've been seeing in the games is actually I would put a lot of this on Jensen because typically he's one of the better mid laners in the region. He's playing really, really well. But there have been a couple games, I believe it was a Zoe game he had, they're just absolutely forgettable. Like he's making lots of mechanical mistakes. And I don't really think that the owners expected when they bought Santorin and Alfari that Jensen would be an issue on the roster. So it might just be early season. I don't know if it's nerves, uncomfortable with the new items or something, but Jensen certainly looks like he's taking a step back from previous years.
I think the biggest issue is a mix of how the team is actually meshing together, as well as how their drafts are going. Like Double Lift said on Twitter or on Twitch or something, he made a comment asking for the team to draft like humans. But I think while draft is an issue for them, I think they are just getting randomly picked in a lot of games, and just not even one or two people, just everyone. I think Tactical isn't really stepping up to where he needs to be. I've been following him in particular because he's on my fantasy team and he's been letting me down a bit. And
That's
I
right.
think, yeah, I think Alfari is kind of going to have issues meshing because he was on like a bottom team and he was literally the only redeeming quality of the team pretty much. And so he's always had this like, or for this last year, he's had this mindset, potentially at least, of, hey, I need to be like this carry. I need to be this one person that's going to just single handedly dominate my lane, make my laner useless, and then translate my lead. And so when you take someone like that and you move them into a team environment where their team members are competent, it kind of creates a disconnect because people have different goals for it, right? And if you have a top laner trying to just giga lane kingdom and no one else is really playing towards that win condition, then it's kind of hard for him to do what he needs to, right?
Yeah, I think there's a bit of an issue. I don't know if it's roster construction, but certainly Team Liquid doesn't look they don't look dominant. When we saw the roster on paper, we thought this could be the NA team that really goes to Worlds and like gets low with the good teams and really puts up a fight. But right now they look like I don't know, maybe the fourth best team in the region. It's hard to say, but certainly if you're not looking strong in North America, you can't hope to have much international success.
Not that US has had much international success anyway
Exactly.
in North America, but I don't know. I'm just taking a minute to like look at all the rosters. Do you guys know what happened with the whole Licorice trade to FlyQuest? Like,
What I could imagine is the way that Licorice scrimmed a lot of the time is he didn't actually play a lot. He just 1v1 in top lane over and over again. And I'm assuming the coaching staff is seeing that. And if they're seeing Fudge uh, improving at a rate better than Licorice, then it might be worth considering putting in Fudge and getting his experience up and getting him better if he's near Licorice in terms of skill, in their opinion.
okay, that makes sense. I was just curious. I was looking at the Cloud roster
Yeah,
get kind of cleaned up, and then
I
how's
don't know if
Perkz
either of you
been?
guys watched Or let me get
Oh,
back
sorry,
to this
sorry.
thing real quick. Yeah, I don't know if you guys watched I Will Dominate's end of season interview with Cloud9 last year, when Licorice was still on the team and they had that disappointing finish. But everyone is sitting in the room and Dom is zoomed or Skyped in. He's asking them questions, and everybody is answering, saying what they think is wrong. And Licorice is just sitting there quietly with like a bit of a frown on his face, and he doesn't speak at all unless Dom addresses him directly, and it's actually really uncomfortable. I sort of heard through the grapevine throughout last season that Licorice wasn't practicing with the team as much, like as practicing on his own. And so when you hear something like that, you definitely think that there could be a team chemistry issue. And so I think that would explain C9's happy with the way Fudge is playing in Academy and Licorice is not playing as part of the team. It makes a lot of sense to bring in a team player and try to improve that way.
That makes sense. I just remembered him being one of the best top players in the league, and is just like a really strong component of that Cloud9 team. So
Yeah, it
how's
was a
Perks been?
quick fall from grace. Perks is kind of disappointing. I got him on my fantasy team and I'm watching him and just he doesn't look like dominant. When I was watching him on G2, it just seemed like, oh, I guess Perks just wins this over and over again. And I'm not really getting that vibe. Maybe it's the new items, new characters. But
do you think maybe he's playing a little lackadaisical?
oh,
absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. I bet if you were to look at his player cam, he's laughing more often than not after he dies.
All right.
I think a big thing between or the difference between perks on G2, especially when you would play mid or something, back then, was recently when Caps went bot lane, right? This is the most recent time we had perks mid lane on G2. When you have a jungler like Yankos, who's arguably like one of the best, if not the best, like supportive jungler in the West. I'm not saying that he's like a bad carry jungler, but like he supports like no other. And so even when there were maybe some smaller mistakes that Perks would potentially make, that would snowball a little bit while he's on Cloud9 with Blabber being more of a carry style, less of a supportive jungler, right? We had Niski on the team last year and he was a supportive mid specifically for Blabber to make sure that Blabber could pop off every game. When we have that difference, those tiny little mistakes, Yankos can kind of patch them a little bit, be there and support and make sure that he's not getting interfered with at all by the enemy jungler, always be there to counter gank, always be there before the enemy jungler is even. And so now when Blabber's maybe doing his own thing, farming a bit harder, focusing on carrying more as opposed to being more of a support, it creates issues where those tiny things will just spiral, right? One tiny thing, instead of being patched up, we'll just add on to a second tiny thing and then a third, and then how long until it starts looking bad, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Speaking of good main laners, we had a really great series this weekend. A nice little 2-0 sweep for the University of Oregon Ducks in our League of Legends matchup against OSU, the Beavers. And particularly in the second game, our mid laner, HH Comet, aka Sam, had a really, really good performance on Oriana that I think got kind of undervalued during the broadcast, but definitely something to consider while we were watching. So, what were you guys' thoughts overall on that series?
Yeah, I was kind of talking about this in draft of game 2, but the last 3 or 4 times HH Comets locked Oriana, Oregon's won the game and it's not even been close. So the way he augments his team with it, the move speed, the shields, and then the shockwaves particularly help them in ways that other mages don't really. Like I know Comets had a bit of an issue playing Seraphine where there's just no like big impactful moment, but that shockwave like lets him have his 1v9 carry moments while also buffing up his teammates. And we saw the way that JG was playing, all HH Comet has to do is give him shields and move speed and hit a big shockwave, and they're gonna win every fight.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh yeah, I 100% agree. The way that HH Comet plays is he really likes supportive champions. You'll see him a lot of the time asking like, hey, yeah, what about like a Zillion or something, right? That's a champion he's pulled out a few times, not necessarily in this season, but in seasons past. And it makes you wonder what about Zillion or Oriana works where Seraphine doesn't. I think the big thing is the damage. HH Comet is really good at supporting his team and making sure his team could carry, but he also likes to do a bit of damage himself. He likes to have that solo kill potential, which we've seen time and time again of him outperforming his enemy mid laner.
Yeah, how do you guys remember what his first game pick was? Was it Ori again? I can't remember. It was, right?
Yeah, they played
Yeah,
Ori
yeah, okay,
Lulu
okay.
in both games. Yeah.
Or Lulu, okay. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you on the supportive yet still like carry made kind of style, because he pops off on Syndra, and OSU took that away from us this last weekend, but it didn't really matter, I guess. What were you guys' thoughts on the first game? We had like a complete 30-minute slowly losing thing, and then all of a sudden a couple team fights and we're back in the game, and then JG's able to Twitch carry us to a victory in that first game there. What are your thoughts while casting that match, Dylan?
Yeah, I couldn't really believe that Oregon was actually coming back when OSU got a pick on Blue Burglar. I believe it was around 30 minutes into the game in the jungle. At that point, they were almost 5K gold ahead, and they had a pick, and I was sort of expecting them to look for a fight in the jungle or bait the Baron, but they couldn't really do the Baron because Oregon had the invisibility on Twitch. They had the Orin Horn, they had a Shockwave, so there was a lot of reasons that you don't want to group on the Baron. But OSU should have been able to force a fight with a man advantage, and instead they just sort of ran mid lane and tried to go super deep under tower even for a pick on Proxy. And they ended up using everything, and then Twitch just came out of Invis and deleted the Syndra. And as soon as Twitch killed that Syndra, it got like 700 gold. The game just ended. JG was way too fed to lose, and I really felt like OSU just had a lot of issues playing with the lead. They looked like uncertain of Baron. They looked uncertain of when they could siege towers, and it took them a lot longer to shut the door on a scaling comp than I think it needed to. They had a really fed Hecarim. I think he had 11 KP without a death, and they still couldn't force an objective. I mean, that you should just win any fight if your Hecarim has 11 KP, no deaths.
Yeah, I definitely felt like, at least watching from my perspective, it felt like their macro was just like confused though a lot of the time, especially once I got into that mid like later game. But I do think, like, to give OSU credit, they are really good at setting up team fights and picks. Like, they really were good at like rotating around the map to take those picks. They just didn't really do anything with them, which was kind of disappointing.
Yeah, I think ultimately, it wasn't really that Oregon did a great job at coming back, because they did end up having a 500 or 5,000 gold deficit, right? It's that OSU just took way too long to close the game. They just couldn't do that. They had the Hecarim, where the reason why Twitch isn't seen very much in competitive play is just because when people know how to ward well, Twitch is really just useless. It feels like every single time you press Q on Twitch, you're just walking into a control ward, right? And so when your vision is struggling, when you're struggling to close out a game, the Orin items are starting to get pumped out, right? You have an Orianna to deal with, you have a Twitch to deal with, you don't have the vision to deal with the Twitch, then it just gets really rough, especially when you have people that can just jump in to the middle of the team, huge shockwaves, huge Ornals, right? Twitch's spray and pray just going out. It's just a really huge wombo situation that you need to kind of stomp out before 30 minutes, probably.
Yeah, I will say that Oregon State actually had phenomenal mid jungle priority. Even in the second game where they were kind of losing most of their lanes, they still looked like they were on the map. But in the first game particularly, and I think this is one of the things that could cost Oregon against some of the elite teams, is that they were making plays without respecting roam priority. There's a particular play where Oregon had actually developed a small gold lead in the first game. It was around 1,000 gold, and they went for a 3-man play in the bot lane without having mid priority. Syndra just cleared that wave, and then they didn't know where Hecarim was. And they went all the way to Oregon State's tower, and then Syndra and Hecarim came down, and they killed everyone. It was 4 deaths. I don't even know if anyone on OSU died, and it was a 3K gold swing.
I think it was a 4-0 trade, but then there was like a solo kill on the top lane from a UO on the Gragas. But that was like the last solo kill, or it got on the Gragas in that game, because then Gragas just scaled and could walk away from the tank damage.
Yeah, it felt a little bit disappointing. Like, I believe in the CLG game on Sunday, they had this play where they're down 2 teleports and they still gank bot lane, and then people teleport in and everyone dies. And it kind of felt like that, where one team is just not respecting the simple facts of the game. They're just making a play for the sake of making a play because they have an advantage on their screen in front of them. And
Not respecting the rotation around the map.
Yeah, the players on Oregon are too good to be doing stuff like that. They have too much experience to be doing something like that. And if they could cut that out, we've seen them play really well in later game team fights. They rarely lose the long games.
And moving forward, Matt knows this more so. You both probably know this more so than I do, but just for those that are listening, in the RSAA that the UO League of Legends team is playing in order to move on into like the playoffs and like continued portion of the tournament, you have to play perfect, basically. And since we've already lost like what 1 or 2 series, I think
2.
2, right? Yeah, it was against
We lost
Arizona State,
and it was the game after that too.
Santa Clara.
Yeah, we got blown out. So we won't be participating in like the more competitive portion of the tournament, but we will, I'm assuming, be participating in the Timo Cup coming up soon, towards the end of March, around that time frame. So that'll be fun. Keep out to watch for that. Moving forward here as we're beginning to wrap up, just because headed into finals week 8, kind of crazy. I got a lot of stuff going on. I'm sure you guys got a lot of stuff going on. What was that, Matt?
Oh, I was gonna say to get into playoffs, I think most teams are able to drop 1 game. I think you're able to get a 5-1 record going in. So losing that, winning against Arizona is kind of near impossible, I think. But then
Yeah.
I think what really dropped the nail in the coffin was the loss to Santa Clara.
That was the 3-2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was sad that we lost the series. Even then, I think it's still really close. Like the number of teams is just crazy in the league. And I was talking to Michael about it too, and we both personally think that the college Call of Duty format is much more suitable for like collegiate esports and could definitely be done for League of Legends, considering the number of teams we have now in that league. So maybe that'll change in the future. Yeah, we're gonna move forward to, I guess, what I was looking forward to the most, just because I was the most prepared for it. The ranked League of Legends griefing section of today's cast. We're gonna spend the next 10 to 15 minutes just basically complaining, joshing, reminiscing, and completely mauling at some of the ranked games that we may have played in the most recent days. Would anyone like to start? Feel free to do so. Otherwise, I can pull up one of my matches that was quite tilting this last night.
Let's hear it.
All right, cool. Let me screen share really quickly. I've been playing too much because of just school stuff. So I'm trying to get to gold for the first time this year, just because I finally have the time to do so. I'm definitely the worst of the 3 people here, but that's okay. That is totally fine. Share my screen here. All right. What is the biggest problem on my team looking at this game that may cause one person to just lose their shit? Excuse my French.
I think the biggest problem on your screen is the lack of an ad block.
Oh yeah, true. Okay, true. Let me zoom in here. That's actually a good point. No. No. Okay.
It's okay.
That one, clear that one. Okay. Okay. Ah, crap. I wanted you guys to be able to see the items. There's gonna be problems. Anyways, long story short, I gave up. My jungler didn't have a jungle item, and I thought it was interesting, one, because I know jungle did get hard nerfed, but is there still like value in having a jungle item now with all the jungle changes?
What the jungle item does is it lets you get bonus XP from jungle camps. And so without buying a jungle item at the beginning of the game, you're getting so much less XP that you aren't even getting level 2 off of your first buff, right? So you're getting leashed or whatever, you're getting your red buff, and then you're like level 1.5. And then you could go clear like Krugs, but you're still level 1. You aren't getting the extra damage that on hit that it gives. You aren't getting the extra mana regen while you're in the jungle, and you also aren't getting the extra AoE burn damage that you would normally get. And so it just slows down your clear. It gives you less XP. It makes you less healthy in the jungle as well.
That was definitely the problem because the Skarner kind of entered our game away for the first half of the game. I think within the first 3 minutes of the game, the Kazakhs was 4-0-2. And that was definitely a problem that I was not happy about because I was playing AD carry, and I am a support main, but I'm playing AD carry because I believe that support is practically useless unless you're duoing to try and climb solo queue until you hit gold or maybe even platinum. Yeah. So my Skarner here, no jungle item, never bought one, didn't buy one at the beginning of the game. That was really frustrating. However, their TF was like really good. So I was mainly modeling at like 6 a.m. this morning, primarily because of the lack of a jungle item, because that just made no sense. I've had too many losses, I guess, actually. Now I look at my like, well, let me like my rank solo. That's just my match history. Oh, no, I have. I think this one I just got pooped on. Anyone else have any qualms with the current rank season?
Yeah, the first couple of weeks, I decided I don't usually play right at the start of the season, but I decided I was feeling really on form and I wanted to get in a really healthy amount of games right at the start. And what I found out really quickly is that one, it's impossible to duo with your friends at this point. I don't know if you play a lot of duo, but I only play ranked duo because I have no interest in meeting 4 randos that all think I'm the reason we lost. And every time you duo with someone, your game gets insanely hard, like significantly harder. The only way you can make your game easier is duoing with someone significantly lower rank than you, and it's almost like abuse. So I have a couple of friends that are around like silver 1, gold 4, and I'm in gold 1. And if I duo with them, then the game MMR is significantly below my skill level. But if I win, I'll get 16 LP. And yet, if I duo with somebody exactly like gold 1 or platinum 4, and I duo with them and I win, I might get 16, but I might get 15 or 14, even though the game is massively harder. I mean, I'm talking about an entire divisional gap in the average skill level,
Yeah, that makes sense.
and the gains are the same. It's nothing like it's been in the past few seasons. And I mean, I shouldn't be rewarded for duoing to someone a division below me to get easier games.
No, I agree. I'm not a big duo person just because my friends like to duo with each other and not me, which kind of sucks. But it's okay. I don't mind playing by myself. Mainly because it's whatever. I don't tilt that easily. But I can imagine that like just that kind of system does not incentivize one, playing by yourself, two, duoing to begin with, because it's like if I'm going to duo and it's going to be really hard, but I'm not going to get any greater LP gain out of like the difficulty of the game, then why duo in the first place? But then if I'm going to play by myself, then I'm not like capitalizing on the experience of playing with someone else. So I don't think that's quite fun for me, at least.
Yeah, I think MMR in general is really broken, or at least I don't know if it's MMR that's broken or if it's the LP gains that are broken. I know for one patch, it felt a lot better. Instead of gaining like 13 or 14 on win average, I was gaining like 18 or 19, which is fine. And then the next patch, it feels like the changes were reverted because this is how it felt like. It was like 11.2. Before that, it was ruined. Everything was doomed. 11.2, it felt fine. And then once 11.3 started, everything just started being doomed again, to be honest.
Do you guys like the new? I personally like it anyway. I like the new within division promotion. So like, there's no actual series. I think that's like really healthy to the rank system overall, in my opinion. But
yeah, I completely agree. One of the reasons I almost quit was a couple seasons ago. I got into my gold 1 promos and they still have those, but I had to play 10 series to get promoted just because and 7 of them went to game 5. And having to win at 60% win rate to get promoted is kind of insane. And I know that we still have those between divisions, but if you're trying to go from gold 3 to gold 2, then you shouldn't have to win such a vast majority of your games.
Yeah.
Because if you could actually win all your games at that rate, you'd be like platinum 1 if you could actually win all your games at that rate. So it doesn't make sense that you should have to play so much higher than the average skill level required to win a game.
I
So it makes a lot of sense to
agree.
me. But what they've done with the LP gains, I almost think it has to be broken. I'm not a prodigy or anything, but I've definitely been able to reliably get to platinum and hang out in platinum. And this season, it's been so hard for me to crack in because I feel like I'm maybe netting like 1 LP gain per win and a loss, if that. It'd take me 200 games to get out of gold 1.
Here's my take. If I had the option between lower LP gains or having to go through promos, I'd rather go through promos, honestly. Like, this is absurd because if I were going on a win streak or whatever, my MMR starts increasing. And maybe normally I'd gain like 18 LP per win before, and then maybe I'd go to like 20 to like 22 if I win like 5 games in a row, right? But now it feels like the last time I won 5 games in a row, I was actually starting to win less LP. Like maybe I was winning like 14 per win, and then I go down to 13. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. It's not really worth it, I don't think.
It
No,
comes
yeah.
down, yeah, it just comes down to some sort of MMR versus rank thing where you have 2 separate systems that are both telling you how good you are, essentially. And if we just had MMR, that would be completely fine because everybody would have their number and they would know what it is, and you could see it slowly growing over time as you play. Or if we just had a rank, that'd be fine because we have a visible ranking. But because we have both, we have a situation where I'm in gold 1, but my MMR is like plat 3. So I'm beating players that are, or like I'm having to win games against players that are both ranked higher than me and potentially better than me, or at least as good as me. But yet I'm in gold 1. So visibly my ranking is like slightly lower quality players. And if I'm in gold 1, shouldn't I have to be beating players in gold 1 to climb, not beating players in plat 3 to get to plat 4? Like if I can beat players in plat 3, am I a plat 4 player, or maybe I should be a
Yeah.
plat 3 player? Yeah. So that's always sort of been my issue with the system, and it's not new to this year, but it's definitely worse this year.
That's fair. That's fair. Have you guys been played out any like interesting ranked picks or like strats?
Gangplank.
Gangplank. I played against a Gangplank last night, and it was the most terrifying thing on the planet because we were winning for a really long time. And I was playing Ezreal, and we were basically broken up in the base, and we were like had minions auto attacking the Nexus, and it was 2 of us alive, one of them dead. So we were just guarding their fountain, as like the Nexus like ticked down. The Gangplank spawned, and like I tried to like WQ like pop him. He pulled out 2 barrels instantly, and like my screen lagged, and then I was just dead because like the collector like proc. So Gangplank's kind of nasty right now, in my opinion, anyway.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I think despite the 47% win rate or whatever he has, I think the issue is if a Gangplank knows how to play mechanically, like eventually he's just going to be able to just blow up an 80 carry with like a barrel ultimate combo.
Yep. That's what he was doing too. Like we'd go to contest Elder Drake or something like that, and he'd just drop his ultimate. And like my friend's playing Heimerdinger, and he'd be like, "Oh shit, I have to stopwatch," because he's like in the middle of it and he just can't get out. So that was
Oh.
funny. How about you, Dylan?
So I really like losing, and so I've been playing a lot of Yorick. And last season, I mean, Yorick went great for me. I was 57% win rate on almost 100 games, and I felt like I was pretty much able to beat anyone. And I don't know if I don't want to blame the new items. I don't think it's just the new items. I think maybe I've made some gameplay errors, but I'm at like 30% win rate on him with my best CS per minute ever, my best KD ever, at my best DPM ever. So I don't know. Maybe it's just unlucky games. But yeah, I've had a much harder time winning this season than in past seasons. Maybe I'm just worse. I'm not sure.
No, I completely agree. Don't go look at my overall win rate. It is a tragedy to say the very least.
I think
Yeah,
mine's okay right now.
I feel like everybody was dropped immediately into an MMR where they're playing against people of similar skill level, but then their ranked does not reflect that. So I feel like I'm playing the games that are exactly as hard as when I was in Plat 2 last season, but I'm in Gold 1 right now. That's almost an entire division away, and a division gap is a huge difference in skill. So having to fight against a division gap and then I see my rank as gold 1 is really annoying.
I'm at a spot where like I think I got like a 48, 49, like not, it's around 50 or so because I haven't been playing too much.
I'm 42%
And
right now.
yeah, that was me last season. I just was like, you know what, no more. I'm just gonna do school the rest of the year, focus on that. So I just stopped playing ranked last year. I think I did like TFT for a bit, um, which also I love TFT. That's a conversation for another day. I think right now my current issue is just like because I understand a lot of like how to macro as a support and like play the support role and like different like support champions, but because I just firmly believe that like in my current like elo it's just not viable to climb as a support, especially when you're playing by yourself, and you're not in a duo queue. I've been switching over to AD carry, and like I'm just currently having a lot of fun, like a lot of fun and difficulty learning how to carry in like those positions. So like I play a lot of like Jin, Kaisa, Sivir, and then if we need like AP, because for some reason on my elo teams just like to go 100% AD comps, I'll play Cassiopeia, and that's like really fun. But
Oh
nothing
yeah.
too crazy.
My personal big issue is the difference between I don't know what happened, but I feel like my solo queue, like part of my brain just turned off because I've been completely demolishing in terms of like a competitive like 5v5 scene. But then when I go to solo queue, I just can't do anything. There's some thing in my brain that just isn't working to play by myself. It's
It just
horrible.
shuts off.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
unfortunate.
I mean, that's one of the issues with solo queue is trying to win with strategy. Some games it's amazing, but other games it's almost impossible because you need the other players on your team to understand what makes your character good to win. And obviously, if I'm playing Yorick, he's like the lowest play rate, bad win rate. So nobody wants to seek it out and play it. Nobody understands how it works. And I'll have games where we're at like 20 minutes. I have one item, and my team is like yelling like come in group. And I understand like sometimes you need to be there with your team or they're gonna get run over. But if you're telling the champion that is only good at killing towers and that's the only thing it's good at to come in group, what are your odds of winning a 5? Like if I'm against a Malphite, I don't have a better team fight than Malphite. It doesn't help me much to be there. Like I'm just gonna die with everybody else. So in every single game, I'm getting these pings, and people are getting mad at me. There's no dragon, there's no Baron up, and people are getting mad at me for going to a side lane when they're taking a random fight in mid lane. Like that, it just feels like because I think this is just because some champions are so unpopular. People don't know how to play around them, and in a competitive setting, that's completely fine because you can just explain that really quick in a voice chat or something. Even in like 2 or 3 minutes, you can explain like what we want to do that game. But in solo queue, there's no such thing, and you can put in chat what your game plan is. But everyone wants to be the star of the show, so that probably won't happen. Like if you have a Zed as your mid lane, you can guarantee that guy is not going to be playing passive just because you're playing a split pusher. So
Two unfortunate situations.
yeah.
Oh, I think that's going to be about it for today's podcast, mainly just because I got some homework to do. I don't know about you guys. Thanks for tuning in this Monday. It was a lot of fun. Be sure to check out the UO Esports Twitch as well as the UO Esports Twitter. There's a Discord, which is linked on our Twitch, and I'm going to try and link it below in this. I think it's the description. Yeah, that's the word. I knew it was a D word, but I couldn't remember what the word was. The description below this video. Shout out to Michael for uploading it. Thanks for producers. You guys, got anything else you want to say before we call it here?
No, I'm good.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks for tuning in, and we will all catch you later. Just go Ducks.